Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Sit back comfortably. Today we have a new set of crazy stories about crazy people. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Drive a forklift through it. I was working as a warehouse manager for a pharmaceutical/cosmetic company. Our premises were part of a large industrial complex that had been walled off into 3 smaller buildings that had 3 different businesses occupying them. My office was a freestanding building inside the warehouse. It was about the size of a shipping container. My company was in the process of redeveloping the insides of the warehouse. As a result, my office had to go. My immediate boss was the operations manager, and he came to me one morning and told me to demolish my office by the end of the day. Now we had tools, but only hammers and spanners, etc. Nothing really suited for the task at hand. When I asked how he expected me to do it, he said, "Just drive a forklift through it." To this day, I'm not sure if he was joking or being sarcastic or actually meant it, but it had been said and in front of 4 witnesses. Like most grown men with the inner workings of a 5-year-old, I love chaos and destruction, so I chose to take advantage of the situation. I'd love to say I rammed the office at full speed like the Dukes of Hazzard on meth, but I figured that may be too extreme. What I did was push the walls in slowly before lifting off the roof panels. All was going well. I got called away to another part of the warehouse, and another worker decided to take up where I left off. He started lifting a roof panel off, and there was a loud noise, a cross between a bang and popping cork. This is the point where we realized that one of the pipes for the fire sprinkler system ran through the office roof, and it had been completely ripped out. The pressure in the system caused an initial spray of water before a torrent of water spewed forth at roof height. The water had been in the pipes for at least 20 years, and combined with the dirt in the rafters, it was like it was raining squid ink. It covered the finished goods, the raw materials, the workers, and the equipment. The production line was immediately shut down and everyone was panicking. We had a plumber on site who was unable to stop the flow. It had been flowing for about 5 minutes when we heard the sirens. The fire system had automatically alerted the fire department when the water pressure dropped. Due to the nature of our business, we had on site up to 30,000 liters of pure alcohol and ethanol, so when the firemen came, they prepared for the worst. 3 trucks and about 20 firemen. The firemen go to turn the water off, but the valves are in one end of the warehouse. One was occupied by a heating company, the other by a Christian food drive. The heating company had knocked off early, and the Christian place was occupied sporadically. Firemen have to break down the doors of these businesses until they find the valve and shut off the water. Firemen aren't happy with the situation, and here in Australia, if you're responsible for a false alarm, you get fined potentially thousands of dollars for wasting their time. The damage bill was going to be massive in terms of fines, ruined stock and materials, and lost time. It all happened so fast, not much had been said, but once the situation was under control, the operations manager was looking for answers. He approached me asking what the hell I had done. At this point, I informed him that it was not me as I was elsewhere at the time, and that for the record, he had instructed me to drive a forklift through the building. He turned pale as the reality of his own culpability sank in. The result was that the worker operating the forklift at the time was deemed responsible. I think they needed an official scapegoat for an insurance claim, but no official record was made and no punishment handed out. It was all swept under the table and never mentioned again. And our next story. Won't pay me? Forget about your laptops. I work in the IT field, and for years I worked for myself. This was during the early years some time ago. I only had about 2 years worth of professional experience at the time, even though fixing and rebuilding machines had been my thing since childhood. So I reckoned I'd start doing contract work on my own. This went well for some time, and eventually I partnered with a few people and started a company. We had many clients and return business. Things were going well. We had one big client who resold PCs and laptops online and in a storefront. We were his refurbisher. Now, there was a massive gray area with this client in that they would purchase machines from dang near anyone, and it was pretty obvious that some of these systems didn't come from the most reputable of sources. However, they paid on time, and over the course of a year we had no major issues, so we overlooked some things. Typically, we would refurbish around 10 or so laptops, maybe 4 to 6 desktops at a time. We would perform pickups at night around 9 or 10 p.m. at what was essentially an illegal gambling room they also ran. Now, when I say gambling room, I don't mean a few machines. I mean several tables with games starting with a buy-in of $500 US and up to $25,000 US. On some nights, you'd walk in to see local politicians, constables, sheriffs, etc. on the tables. It was clean, it was quiet, and it had been there for some time. We did some work there as well, but for the most part, if we weren't directly involved in it, we turned a blind eye to what he was doing. No one was getting hurt, so meh. So enough of the backstory. Here comes the incident. We would work for as many days as we could straight making money. So on an off day, I get a call from said client asking for a really late pickup after midnight that he wanted all wiped and reloaded and back by Monday night. It was Friday. I pull myself away from my gaming session and beer, hop in the car, and go to make some money. I get there and his estimate is off. There are more machines than he originally stated. Me is me, and he will be TOD, that one dude. Me. So that's way more than usual. TOD. Is that a problem? The stack, it was big. There were at least 50 laptops and maybe 30 plus desktops and several servers. Me. Don't get me wrong, I can do it, but it won't be by Monday. Let's say Wednesday. Also, I'm going to need some help loading these. You do realize how much this is going to be, right? Of course. Have I ever not paid you? I think okay, and pull out the contract and add up the machines for the estimate. A few things to note. Our prices on wipe and reloads at the same time was set in stone. $90 for a desktop, $125 for a laptop, $190 for a server. Essentially $2,700 plus for the desktops, $6,250 plus for the laptops, and around $1,330 for the servers. At the end of the day, we invoiced him for around $11,000 US for labor and time. A few parts were needed that added to the final, but he signed and off we went. Wednesday comes around and I finally finish loading my last Dell Latitude D600 and repack all of these items in my truck, filled the back bench seat, bed, floor, and passenger seat to get these all back. I make the calls needed and drive down to meet him at his house instead of the room for some reason at his request. I pull up and walk in the door with 4 machines, 2 laptops in bags around my neck, and 2 desktops under my arms. I knock and he opens the door and takes the machines. Alrighty, here's the invoice. If you'd like to settle up, I'll go grab the rest of the stuff out of the truck. This is more than usual. Yeah, there are more machines than usual. You didn't tell me that. Now, I've been called a lot of things, and non-informative isn't one of them. I tend to explain things too much, like hammer them in. It gets me called an a-hole a ton, but at the end of the day, you know what's on my mind and what I mean. Also, it's important to note that I had an ironclad non-payment section in my contracts, 90 days for payment in full. After that, I would sell off items to recover what was owed and send you a check for anything over along with an additional items left. Clearly, TOD had forgotten about this. Me. TOD, you know that my contract is blunt and obvious. I don't hide anything. This is 4 or 5 times what you usually have us do in a month. Of course it costs more. You already signed as well. You get where I'm going with this, right? Get my equipment out of your car. I'm not paying this. We can discuss this inside. Unload first. I was dumbstruck, but again, I'm also an a-hole. I asked him if he was sure this is how he wanted to proceed. He just walked off, leaving the door open, so I walked back to my truck and left. I didn't close the door or anything. I got back home and unloaded all the equipment again. I added the mileage from the trip back to my invoice. In my eye, he wasted my gas and time. I'm going to bill him for it. I then placed all the equipment in my office, grabbed a beer, and played much WoW. A few days later, TOD called. Where's my equipment? You can't just steal it. Bring it back now. He was highly upset, and I assure you I'm missing most of the colorful words he used. All you have to do is pay your invoice. Also, I'm billing you for the wasted trip, so the invoice is now $25 US more. TOD is not close to my house or office. I'll sue. TOD, look at that contract. Page 3, second paragraph, the section called non-payment. Your contract isn't legit. You're what? 15? F your contract. I'll never forget being told to F my contract. I had the biggest crap-eating grin on my face at that moment. You see, I'd learned about that section of my contract from another guy I'd worked for when I was 19. It's been in my contracts ever since. TOD, if my calculations are correct, you have 87 days left to pay your invoices in full before I start to recover my losses. Have a nice day, TOD. And I hung up. Not worth getting into a shouting match on the phone. Contracts are contracts. You live and die by them. The next few weeks were filled with nasty emails from TOD with replies from me that were essentially countdowns. Contracts are contracts. You live and die by them. The next few weeks were filled with nasty emails from TOD with replies from me that were essentially countdowns to the days of recovery. The final 10 days, I sent an email daily counting down. None of them were answered. 90 days came and went, and I was debating what I would sell when I got my last call from TOD. You ready to stop this dumb crap and give me my equipment? Are you going to pay your invoice? All your stuff is still here technically. I'd claimed a laptop for myself, a little 17-inch e-machine that I liked. I'm not giving you a dime. I pay your bills. I make it so you can survive. Who else will hire you, little boy? The rest of his rant went dark, mixed between the bouts of I'm a big man to the random fits of prejudice and bigotry. I'd had enough. I put the phone down while he continued to yell and started doing math. I had my invoice total. I started calculating what I needed to sell each component for to make what he owed to just me. Hello? Hello? Are you still there? If you hung up, I swear I'm still here, TOD. I'll send you a check. I hung up the phone with the biggest evil grin on my face. See, what TOD did not know is that I was good at my job, and in the past 9 days, I was killing it with small companies. I decided to become the small business angel. I sold machines for next to nothing. I was selling $700 laptops for $150. The servers were gone in a week to 3 different companies, the desktops in the same length of time, and I sold those laptops like a crackhead at the barbershop. I always had at least 5 on my to sell for dirt cheap. It took a little over a month, but I sold everything save for 5 machines, which I sold to myself for $1 each. At the end of the day, my invoice was paid, and I sent TOD a money order for just over $3. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.